Facebook founder and chief executive Mark Zuckerberg has apologized over the mishandling of personal data of millions of users.
It's clear now that we didn't do enough to prevent these tools from being used for harm as well. And that goes for fake news, for foreign interference in elections and hate speech, as well as developers and data privacy. We didn't take a broad enough view of our responsibility, and that was a big mistake. And it was my mistake, and I'm sorry. I started Facebook, I run it, and I'm responsible for what happens here.
Zuckerberg said Facebook was fighting, quote, an arms race against Russian-sponsored groups trying to use the social network to manipulate elections and public opinion. He made the remarks during his long-awaited testimony before the U.S. Senate. The congressional hearing looks into the leaking of users' private data to the British firm Cambridge Analytica in 2016. The UK firm allegedly used the data to help Donald Trump win the presidential election. The rare joint committee hearing will be followed by a similar hearing in the House of Representatives on Wednesday. Earlier, we talked to investigative journalist Tony Gosling about the Facebook founder's testimony in front of the Senate over the misuse of users' data. He says the congressional inquiry is just the scratch on the surface.
Well, wasn't it fascinating to hear Mark Zuckerberg say that there was an arms race on, that the Russians were trying to use social media to gather information? Well, I have news for him, because Facebook's actually a US product, not a Russian product, and the arms race is very much both sides. What you'll see is that many companies who've got access to the back end of Facebook are not Russian companies, they're US companies. We've heard about Cambridge Analytica, a British company. We've also heard a bit about Strategic Communication Labs. Now, both of those are very close, actually, to political influence in the West and also to the military in the West. So that's why I find it a bit cheeky of him to say that this is the Russians are the only ones involved in this arms race and that he is rushing to keep up. He's been in bed with the US military through the National Security Agency's arrangements with Facebook for a very long time. This interview by the senators was only just scratching the surface of the companies which are behind Facebook, and I would like to have seen a lot more interrogation of people like Palantir and SCL asking Zuckerberg what his relationship is with the National Security Agency, for example. The government has to regulate this. That's what governments are for, to regulate these big corporations. But the fact of the matter is the corporations have stolen a march on all of our governments in the West.